Well, welcome to the pod where we are going to talk about
our thoughts, stories, and hot takes, but do it all respectfully, of course.
So we're just going to jump right into today's video because it's just, we're excited to start it.
Yes.
I don't think we need anything to kick us off because this will grab your attention in real fast.
Yeah, we would like to start today with a disclaimer though. If you are at all squeamish or you get awkward easily, I would just click out now. Come back next week.
We won't hold it against you.
No.
Because our topic today is talking about like period bathroom horror stories, and it's something that everyone can relate to, or if you're a guy, then you can relate to the bathroom side of it. However, it's not for everyone, but it will be funny. So get ready, buckle up. So how are we starting off?
I think we're just gonna jump right into your story because you got a really good one. I think it's just gonna really set the tone.
Right. So
Yeah.
Every girl's got at least one period horror story, typically from when they were younger, when it was still a little new to them. So one of my stories starts out freshman year of high school at Mandan High. You are required to take a swim class. And I mean, I had gotten my period 7th or 8th grade, I don't totally remember, but like I was new to being forced to use a tampon because I wasn't totally comfortable with that yet. But obviously in swim class you have no other option and it's required. So like, I don't know, that's crazy. Besides the point. So we had a male swim teacher, and his name was Mr. Manley, and I did not...
Mr. Manley, that is
literally.
true,
I'm like, it's so iconic, so funny. But anyway, I didn't feel super comfortable to tell Mr. Manley things, although he was like, ladies, I'm a girls swim coach. If you ever have any, that sort of thing.
Also, you're really outing Mr. Manley right now.
Oh. Here's the thing. I don't think Mr. Manley will ever come across this. I think we're good. But point is, he was like, you can come talk to me if you have any needs. He's like, I don't get bothered by it. I'm a girls swim coach, whatever. But I still didn't feel totally comfortable with that. However, he was big on like, you do not go to the bathroom or leave class in the middle of class. You go before, you go after, because we had such a short class time, which is fair. But we were in our diving unit, which I hated, by the way. I'm on my period. Still new to using a tampon. I think I put it in correctly, but we're diving, we're doing whatever, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, like I literally feel my tampon came out. Like it's fully out. And it's just like chilling in. Luckily, it was still chilling inside my swimsuit, and it was still like,
It's just resting there.
And so, I mean, if it came out, I literally would have probably died in the pool.
It's just like,
I would have, it was horrendous. But I was like, I can't ask him, but I can't ask to go to the bathroom. And I don't remember how far along in class this was, but I was stuck with the tampon completely out, which is not sanitary, by the way. I should have just taken the L. But I was like, because everybody knows. If you leave class, it's not only how awkward it is telling the teacher, but all your classmates know, which we had a mostly male class, that if she's leaving, it's probably that sort of thing. Oh my gosh, that was so embarrassing, and I don't even know. I think I just chilled with it in there until class was over and hoped no one could see the extra, like,
the love.
Oh my gosh, mortifying.
Yeah, that is a rough one.
Yeah.
I do give you my condolences for that one.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you?
So my first one is also kind of in my early time of the period, I'm still, getting used to it. And so I was a theater girly growing up, and I was in my summer show, and we had finished, I think it was like maybe our second show. And after every performance, we would all go out somewhere and like get ice cream or go get appetizers and all just like hang out as a cast. So we were going to go to a frozen yogurt shop. And my friend was like, oh, you can just ride with me and my parents, like, after you get changed and everything, which, like, luckily for me, we were required to wear some type of clothing, like, under our actual costume. But I was just, like, in a rush to go meet up with her, so I just took everything off. Like, I didn't even check myself out in the mirror or anything. I was just out of there. And we drove over, and just something was just feeling a little off. I'm like, I'm a little afraid. And we arrive at the frozen yogurt place, and I get up off of my seat, and I look down, and there is just a little, like, it wasn't massive, but it was just a little spot of just blood, and I'm like, no.
In someone else's car. That's literally one of my biggest fears.
With, like, like fabric seats. Like it's not even like you can just wipe it off. Like tan fabric. And I was like, oh
Not the
my
tan.
gosh. I was mortified. And I'm like, I don't know her that well. It's been like, 5 weeks. Like we're not that tight. This is still when you're young and you're awkward and you're not just like, oh, whatever. It's not a big deal. It was a big deal to me. And I did something I'm so ashamed of.
You should be.
I'm so ashamed. I just panicked and I just shut the car door and I left like I never saw it. I didn't say a single word. And all I can imagine is just like the horror
I just
upon
want
the
to
later
know
discovering
when they
it.
found that and what they thought.
And I'm still friends with this girl to this day, and I don't think I've ever confessed that to her.
They probably just thought it was their daughter, and
yeah,
he wasn't admitting to it. They probably like grilled her and were like, "You need to tell us."
for my mistake. Anyway, so I get out of the car. Now I know. I'm like, it's obvious. I'm like, I don't know how many people have seen this. It just did no one tell me. Like, so I bolt to the bathroom, and this was again. I was like, I don't know how old I was. I didn't have a phone yet. All I had was my little classic iPod Touch. Good old iPod Touch. So I rushed to the bathroom. I'm trying to connect to the Wi-Fi so I can try to send some type of message to my mom to be like, you need to come, bring me clothes. I need to get out of here. So I'm hiding in the bathroom for like 20 minutes. My friend's mom comes over and is like knocking on the door and is like, everything okay in there? And I'm like, yeah. And I finally get my change of clothes and I just like literally like left. I'm like, no, I'm done. I am so humiliated and I just need to go home. And that was just
that sounds pretty
for
terrible.
me.
Yeah. It's like, I know they like, okay, I don't know how many, Lorna's homeschooled, so she did not have the girl talk, like the period talk in elementary school. But it's like, they try and teach you about how to take care of yourself and try and set you up for success. But I just don't feel like it ever does, because girls like don't totally understand it until you just have to learn the hard way. And it's like, you don't know how long you can leave it in until you're like, oh, I leaked through that fast, or different things like that. Yeah. It's just such an experimentation factor. Mm-hmm. But it's like, at that age, it's so embarrassing.
Yeah.
It is so
like
embarrassing.
Now, I mean, obviously now it would still be like mortifying. I feel like you're just not as embarrassed. You're like, oh, it happens.
It happens.
Like, you are more understanding.
Yeah, like even actually recently, Lauren bled through. So we were on our like girls.
This is actually all my stories are me bleeding through. This just happens to me apparently.
Me as like, I think eventually you'd figure it out. You know, how long have you had your period?
But it's just so unpredictable.
But you never know. It's like, so hit or miss. And like, you think you got it, and then all of a sudden you're like, what the heck? Like, so we were on our girls' trip to North Carolina, and we were like, in our swimsuits. Did you have other clothes on? Did you have your shorts on?
I don't know. I didn't have my shorts on.
Okay. But she asked me to check for her, because she's like, I feel like I bled through. And she indeed did. And so I was like, listen, our hotel is like 5 minutes away. Let's just walk back, go get a change of clothes. Like, she had another swimsuit. She's like, no. Honestly, like, we're just gonna lay down and tan for a little while. Like, I don't think it's a big deal.
I'm like, we're gonna go back to the room in like a half hour anyway. I'll just deal with it for a little minute.
So she could have gone and changed, but she's like, I think we're good. Like, whatever. I'm just laying and tanning. But think about when you're laying down and tanning in a swimsuit, like, and it's the beach is a slate, like, someone could have seen something they didn't ask for. Like, or didn't ever want to see, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like that was really bold of you to just be choosing to sit in your blood and being aware of it, but like not doing anything about it.
And I don't really know how to justify that other than I'm like, we're literally going to be leaving it a little bit anyway, and I'll just put my shorts on, and
I mean, I guess
the damage has been done at this point. I was tired, and I'm like, I don't want to go all the way back to the room to change to come back. Like, that wouldn't be worth it at that point. Like,
yeah, in all fairness, the swimsuit you would have changed it into was white.
It was white.
So it's like,
that
you
was
don't
also
accidentally ruin a white swimsuit as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess I can get it, but that, you know, it was a little bit of a shock for me.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about your plane?
Yeah, I feel like we might as well while we're on this track. So my other like one that really just stands out is one of the most horrendous experiences was my sister and I were going to fly out to see my brother and his wife, and my parents were already out there. And we had this early morning flight, and I was on my period, and we had like 2 flights that day. So the first flight's really short. It's just from it's like a 40-minute flight. So we get landed. That was a weird way to say that. We land, and we're getting up, and the way, like, you know when you're on a small plane, there is like no, it's like the like, what are those called? Overhead compartments.
Yeah.
They're so low. You have to like just
like,
contort your body to like get out. And so as soon as I stood up and kind of leaned over to like get around it, I just felt this
gravity
rush,
took control.
this rush of liquid, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I was like, this is not happening. And I'm like, Tara, I need to go to the bathroom right now. And I rushed to this bathroom, and it's just, the blood was just everywhere. It was like all like down my, I was like, there is no fixing this. Like, I don't have a carry-on bag. I don't have extra clothes I can change into. Like, it's all, you know, in my checked bag. And I'm like, there is literally nothing I could do except deal with this. And I was like, this is this is so disgusting. This is so unsanitary.
Yeah.
And then we had like a 2.5, 3 hour flight. And by the time we got there, I was like, Mom, we need to like, you know, of course, without not crazily breaking the law, we need to get to the hotel. Like, I have got to change. And then my sister's luggage gets lost. And so we were there even longer. And she didn't get it until like the very end of the day. And I was like, Tara, as much as this is really horrendous for you, let's just both agree it would be worse if this happened to me. So
yeah, probably not what you wanted to hear in the time.
But, but she also was
you
like,
were both going through your own struggles.
Anyway,
so tip for next time, like, I always have just a spare outfit in my backpack in case your luggage gets lost or in case something like that happens.
Normally I do. I don't know why I did, because pretty much every time I travel, I at least have me in my backpack or I have a carry-on bag with me. I don't know why I was like, oh, it's fine.
But the fact that you sat on a plane for hours sitting in your own blood, like, that had to be just the worst feeling.
Which, like, luckily I did check, and by the time I reboarded the next plane, like, I think it must have dried it up. And there was no little leftovers on that seat, but yeah.
I'd still hate to be the person after.
Oh yeah, me too, and that's why I'm like disgusted by planes, because I know I'm not the only one this has happened to.
I can't be the only one, no.
Anyway, so that's the worst of it. I can't honestly really think of another time that anything like that happened. So.
Yeah, like, I'm sure there have been other times, but they just don't stand out.
Yeah.
I have a standout recently.
Yes, this is a doozy.
Yeah, it sure is a doozy. And I was really trying to venture out and try something new. So I'd heard of the, like, menstrual cup or, like, disc, and was like, you know what? Like, I've heard tampons make your cramps worse. They're not good for you. They're not good for the environment, whatever. So I was like, I'm gonna venture out. I'm gonna be bold, and I'm gonna try something else. Thinking it was, like, gonna help my situation. And I love the positivity going into it, but I could not have been more wrong. And I did not know the trauma that I was setting myself up for. So I tried the menstrual disc first, and it was told, good hack is to not try it for the first time on your period, because then you've just got a mess to deal with. So I feel like I attempted it like 3 different times and like could not even get it in. And I was just like terrified. It was such a struggle. 3rd time, finally, I'm able to get it in, but I'm like scared to let go of the last little bit, because I'm like, once it's in, and I don't know if I can get it out. My biggest fear was like, what if I can't get it out and have to like literally go to the doctor, which is one of my biggest fears ever, but have to go to the doctor to get it removed. Like, horrifying. So I was terrified to start. I'm trying to get it out. I felt so low, so humbled, and for 15 minutes straight, I'm just trying, and it is such a violating, just vulnerable experience to be doing that. And so eventually, after like 15 minutes, I did get it out and was like, I will not be doing that literally ever again. Like, that was horrendous, that was traumatic, whatever.
Isn't it a thing where like if you take those out the wrong way, it can like actually cause problems, or is that...
I know. It's a good thing I didn't know that then. I never have heard that.
Were you talking about the cup or the disc?
The disc.
Okay, wait, it's the cup that if you take it out.
Yes, okay. So
I got that mixed up.
I'm like, the disc was traumatic. I can never do that again. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna try the cup, because to me that feels maybe a little easier. Maybe I should have started with that. Because it's got the little handle. You know, it's not. It didn't feel like it was so far in that it was maybe a little more doable. Once again, a false confidence going into it. So I get it in. This time I used it on my period. Why I did that, I don't know. I should have tried it before. So I'm wearing it all day, whatever. I get home, it's like 11 p.m. when I start trying to take this out. From 11 p.m. to midnight, straight, for an hour, I was, like, you're literally digging, trying to get this thing out. I know it's horrendous. I that's literally, I think, my lowest of low I've ever been at, mentally and physically for myself. I was in the bathtub. I'm trying to get it out. I cannot grip this thing. It's covered in blood. It's sliming. You're not supposed to like pull the handle, because if you pull it when it's still suctioned, that can be really bad. Like that can turn out wrong for you. So you're supposed to like break the seal and pull it out, but it keeps sliding. Like your hands can't grip it. So for an hour straight, I'm in the tub. There's blood everywhere, all over my hands, all over me, all over like everything. I'm bawling so hard from this traumatic experience. I have tears running down. I have snot dripping, but I can't even wipe or dry that because my hands are covered in blood and I'm covered. Like it was literally the lowest you can ever imagine yourself being. And I did that to myself. And I literally thought I was like fully preparing myself to have to go get someone in my house to go like get my mother. And I was like, should I ask her to try? I can't. And so I'm like, so I need her, like someone to take me to the dog. It was mortifying. I literally was like, that to me felt like the end. Like that was my end. I was like fully prepared for that. And I know it sounds dramatic, but it's like when you are in that moment, like I could not have been more traumatized in that moment. Like you can kind of visualize it, but you'll never know until you try. And so then I sent a little review video to my friends after, and in the video I seem almost too calm for what just happened.
You were in shock.
I truly was in shock, and I was so exhausted from the hour I just went through that I was like, guys, I'm just gonna tell you, I can't recommend.
I literally like opened, I'm like, oh, Kayla sent me a snap, and there was like a lot of videos, and I don't know if I knew you were trying that or not. I don't remember. I just remember clicking in and being like, oh, she has been through something. Yeah. She's been through something. And then after that, I was traumatized for you. Like I had secondhand trauma, and I was like, I won't be trying. Like
I told them, I was like, learn from my experiences.
I'll take my chances and risk it, and which is what I know.
The reason that I was trying those was also, I forgot, but like we were gonna go to Honduras, you know, in a few months, and I was like, some of the bathrooms there's nowhere to, it's tricky. So I'm like, the cup and the disc at least kind of hides it and keeps it a little, you know, hidden for like 12 hours or however long, but it wasn't worth it. Actually now, that was what, like 9 months ago, that was a long time ago. I do occasionally use a disc. I haven't gone, the reusable ones are still a little tough, but the disposable ones I can say I have figured out. But I don't use them all often, cause you know. Anyway, so that's a fun little story. Period trauma's gonna happen at any age.
They really can.
Yeah, so if you wanna keep it fresh, keep it exciting, go ahead and give them a whirl.
I won't be doing that, but I appreciate you taking one for the team.
Our friend Taylor actually did try it after the fact, and I'm proud of her for that.
Because I think she kind of uses those now, right?
Yeah, I think she does.
Yeah.
I think our last period story we're going to talk about is just the fact that, like, I don't know why, but my sister and I have such severe period like effects, whereas like my mom like never did, and she's like, I don't know where that came from, and I'm so sorry to you girls, but like it is what it is. There are times, like there are months when I am so sick. I am lying on my floor curled up in a ball with all the pain med, melatonin, a heating pad. Like I can't get rid of the pain. I can't fall asleep. I can't do anything, and it is just such a like awful time. And there's nothing you can't eat because you feel so sick, but you're also sick because you haven't eaten, and it's just like a downward spiral from there. Well, there was 1 month where it's like, I always try going to work. Like, you'll never catch me calling into work sick, ever. I will go into work, and then if I have to leave sick, then that's one thing. So I went into work this day, not feeling great, but I feel like usually it gets better throughout the day rather than worse. It went downhill fast. And I was like, I feel so weak. I can hardly move. I feel like I'm going to vomit. And one of my biggest fears
is the literal worst.
It's because it's like, you probably won't, but you feel like you could at any moment. Mm-hmm. And it's like, when you work, like I work in a food place, like that's not sanitary at all. Throwing up at work in general is my biggest fear, but it's like where I work too, that's not sanitary, that's not good. And so I like eventually was like, you guys need to send me home or I'm about to throw up in your trash can. So I walk home.
Oh my gosh.
Yep, they sent me home. So then I walked to the back, and the ASL who like checked me out of the back was like, honey, are you okay? She's like, I don't think you should be driving home. She's like, you look, respectfully, of course.
Respectfully, of course.
You look awful. And I was like, I feel awful. Thank you for recognizing that. And so I walked to my car.
I love it.
And I almost threw up in my car. So the whole drive home, I literally had a plastic Walmart bag that had some holes in it, but it was the best option I had. I had nothing else to catch it. And I'm driving with a Walmart bag with holes back home, trying not to vomit in my car. I can't. That's another one of my biggest fears, is where to vomit in your car.
That would be so
bad. Finally, I make it home. Thank God, I make it home. And I go up to the bathroom because, you know, also the period poops will get you. So I'm
gonna
on the
have
toilet.
much time with those.
Another one of my biggest fears. I'm afraid of throwing up, period. It's like something I have a phobia of. But where you throw up on the toilet, when you're going, you can't just flip around quick. So you're throwing up. And it's like, once again, one of the lowest points you can be at.
Yeah, truly.
So I'm on the toilet. Luckily, I grabbed a bucket because I know my fear and I know it's possible. So I was period pooping the heck while I'm still like holding a bucket and vomiting into this bucket. Like my whole body was just
You're just out of control.
I was like, I've never been to hell, but this is as close as I'm gonna get. Like, it was so bad. So speaking of throwing up, we're going to transition into a little segment of throw up horror stories. It'll be brief, but I feel like Lauren has a couple good ones.
I do have a few to share. Okay, so my vomit experiences. I've never had the flu. I've like never actually gotten the flu,
That's
which
crazy.
sounds like a absolute nightmare to me, but I do get like pretty sick frequently, just like where randomly in the middle of the night I wake up and I'm just like feel like I'm dying. But some of my absolute like worst times, like I was about to go on a missions trip, and sometimes before I go on, like I love travel, I'm very comfortable with it, but when I go on like a really big trip, I get just really anxious the couple days leading up before. And so this trip in particular, I was just feeling the nerves. I was feeling the nerves a bit. And it was like 2 days away from leaving, and I woke up and I was like, I do feel like death is upon me. Like something is so not right in my system. And I just like rush up, I'm like, I just need to go to the bathroom. So I go to the bathroom, I sit down, and all of a sudden I'm like, I feel so nauseous right now. And I'm like, what? It's like that, what do? You're like trying to find the trash can, but like you don't know. So I think I managed to like hold that in at least so I could get resituated, you know. And I just started throwing up so violently. Like it got to the point where even though I now had a whole access to the toilet, like I couldn't actually control it. So I am throwing up. I'm like so weak. I can't even like sit up. So I start throwing up on the floor. By this point, I'm like broken out into a full body sweat. Like I feel like I'm going to pass out. So I'm just like, I finally got to the point where I kind of stopped throwing up, and I'm like just like laying on the ground because I have no strength left in me. Like I think by this point, I think my mom actually heard me because it was so bad, because I don't remember actually going and getting her. But she comes and she's like, oh, so she's like doing her best to try to help me, or like even just like start like, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm having flashbacks to be like a 6-year-old, and you're like, Mom, I threw up, and you're like, she was such an angel. She like knew I could not clean that up. So she like kind of started, so I'm just laying there, and I think I started like throwing up again, and then all of a sudden, like I also went through a time where when I was getting like really anxious, I started getting hives. All of a sudden I'm laying there and I'm like, I'm feeling a little bit itchy, and I look, and my body had started to just break out in hives everywhere.
How fast that happened.
So now not only like I can't move, I can't get up, I'm just surrounded by my own vomit. I'm like just like drenched in sweat. I like have my head hurts. I still just feel so nauseous, and I'm like, I literally was like, how am I supposed to get through this? Like, this is horrendous. So finally, after just like laying there for a while, I was able to get up, and I showered, and I just like laid on the couch, and I was like, I have no strength left in my body.
Like,
that was one of the most violating experiences of my life.
It's not a little like, oh, like little puke and then you're done. It's like such a full body violation of just like, oh my gosh, I can't. Oh.
It was so bad. And I was just like, because not only that, but I still was like feeling all the anxiety too.
Yeah.
And so just like, I just felt like I was in so much turmoil. It's just everything. And it was so bad. And like the next day, I just was like, I had nothing left in me. I was just like, well, I'm really glad I packed and everything's ready to go, because I would not be accomplishing anything.
Certainly a low moment for you.
It was a low.
A side note before we transfer to the next story. I feel like as a mom, like that's one of my biggest things is like, I know your job as a mom is when your kids throw up, and they will, is to take care of your kid, take care of the throw up, handle all that stuff. I can handle poop. I can handle pee. I can handle snot. I can handle everything else. The smell, the sound, the look, literally any sensory aspect of vomiting will make me vomit. I have the most sensitive gag reflex, and I will throw up and not be able to do anything. So it's like, I need to make that a like demand of like, I'm sorry, but if I'm gonna marry you, can you handle throw up? Because it can't be me. Yeah. And I like can't just be like, your kid vomits and is like, Mom, I threw up, and be like
something you can really.
That's a you problem.
You can't really just like get over that. Like
no, because it's like, I understand nobody loves to change a diaper, nobody loves to whatever, but it's like, that's your job, you can get over it, whatever. But like, that's something that it's like my body goes into like autopilot, and I can't mind over matter that. I can't.
Yeah.
So bad.
Yeah. So I have one more. This one actually happened very recently. Like, it happened a month ago. And this was another one that just shook me to my core. And so my dad and I had gone to Texas to visit my brother and sister-in-law. And so that night we had all gone out. We got Mexican. And I think that the Mexican did me dirty. As afterwards, we had gone to the movie theater. Yeah, we had gone to a movie, and I had a couple snacks, but I didn't have that many snacks, so I don't think it had to do with that. So, but I still remember getting back to the room and being like, honestly, like, I didn't eat amazing tonight, but I actually feel like really normal. Like, I feel pretty good. Like, kind of a shocker, but just, like, amazing. Not gonna complain, you know. So I go to bed, and a couple hours later, like, I don't even remember what time. I think I woke up around 1 a.m. and I just felt the torment brewing inside of me, and I was like, and there it is. There it has come. It has come. I knew it was too good to be true. Yep. And so right away I'm just like, all right, I need to go to the bathroom. So I like rush to the bathroom, and I'm trying not to make, too much noise here. And also, like, hotels never have good fan systems, which, thinking back, there was a microwave in the room, and I'm like, I should have just turned the fan on the microwave, but I couldn't.
You didn't have time for that,
couldn't process. And I wouldn't have had, I don't know if I would even have time. Yeah. So I run to the bathroom, and I sit down, and I'm like, again, it's like that struggle, like, you don't know what to do first, because, like, when you have to go to the bathroom, like, you gotta go, but also you can feel the nausea building up. Yeah. So I took my chances, and I was like, nope. So I grab, like, the tiny, like, hotel bathrooms do have, like,
why do they have the tiniest garbages?
Like, what is this?
And they never have a bag.
That one did at least have a bag.
Okay. Because I'm like, why do they have a bag? You have, like, feminine products and stuff you're using that.
So I grab it, and I'm like, but I couldn't even, like, lift it up, and I'm straight on aim here. And my aim was not good. It was not good. So I'm just so violently throwing up that some of it goes in, some of it does not. And at that point, I was like, there's no chance. Like, I didn't even have time to get up, to do anything. It just keeps coming. I am throwing up so viciously. It is everywhere. It is all over to the floor. It is splattered up, and I am just sitting there like, what am I to do? I refuse to go get my dad. I'm not doing that. No. Which he slept through the entire thing. Like, did not budge, which I don't know how.
That's so impressive.
There was not a fan. There was, like, I don't know how he did that.
Thank goodness, because imagine waking up to hearing that.
That would send me. Anyway, so I'm just sitting there looking at it, because I still feel so sick that I feel like I can't move, but I'm like, I can't just leave it. Like, what? I'm not going to call housekeeping. Like, So, but I'm also like, I have limited products. Now, luckily we were staying in one that kind of had like a partial kitchen. So what I did manage to find was a little mini bottle of dish soap and a roll of paper towels. And I'm like, this will have to do. So I get up, I wash my hands. I'm like trying to avoid stepping in anything while I'm still like hurled over because I'm like so weak. So I go out and I'm trying to clean it up, and I'm trying so hard not like this, like it's making me want to throw up again. And I'm like, no, you had better hold it together. Like I'm never gonna get anywhere if this cycle continues. So I am doing everything inside of me to not throw up. So I don't know how long that took me, because it took a long time. And finally, I'm like, oh my, now I like have it in this tiny, I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this trash? And I'm just like,
what did you do with the trash?
Well, I ended up, we weren't able to stay with my brother at his apartment, but my dad ended up going and like getting a massive garbage bag from him the next morning, so we could just like take care of it in that. Because I'm like, I'm certainly not going to let the housekeepers come to this.
Can you imagine walking into it as a housekeeper?
So anyway, I finally get it all cleaned up, and I'm like, all right, I'm feeling like I could return to my place of slumber. Yeah. So I go back, but I am like, what? It's pitch black. Like, there's suitcases in the middle of the floor. My Uggs, this is an important detail for later. My Uggs were in the middle of the floor, and so I'm like trying to avoid them, I'm stumbling around, and I get to the bed, and I thought I was good, and I was indeed not, because I got to the bed and was literally like, I can't move. Like, I cannot move any further, and all of a sudden, I got so hot. Again, the sweat, so I literally rip my sweatshirt off, I throw it on the bed, and I'm like, leaning against the bed, and all of a sudden I'm like, it's coming. And I have two options. I stay here and I let what happens, or I try to make it back to the bathroom, but we all know I'm not getting in the bathroom. And then it's gonna be on the carpet, it's gonna probably get into my suitcase because it was open. And then, worst of all, what if it gets on my brand new Uggs? I was like, I am not sacrificing the Uggs. I'm like, I will take the consequences of this. So I started throwing up onto the bed, but luckily,
you're still like hunched over.
I'm still hunched over. Luckily, I threw, and pretty much all of it landed onto the sweatshirt and ripped to the sweatshirt because that thing was gone. But it did prevent almost all of it from getting onto the actual like comforter. But I still wasn't totally sure about it. So I disposed. The garbage is running out of room. But I balled it up as best as I could, got it into the trash, and then got the comforter. Like, I just balled that up too, took it by the door just in case, because I couldn't tell what the damage was. Ended up falling asleep. Then I like managed to go back and I have to brush my teeth. Like, I can't go to sleep like this. So then I finally I just like conked out or zonked out.
I think it's zonked.
I always say
she calls it conk. I just think of a seashell.
Yeah. So then I managed to text my dad, and I'm explain the situation. I'm like, can you get some type of garbage bag from Brandon and just bring it back? And my brother was like, well, if you need to do laundry, take care of it. I'm like, no, the sweatshirt is dead to me.
Rest in peace. That could be $100 sweatshirt, and I'm saying bye.
So anyway, that was it. I was fine the next day, but again, everything was gone inside of me.
It's so crazy to me that your human body can experience such traumatizing low moments, and then you literally just go about your day. Yeah. You just have to continue living and then just go about your day. Because it was Thanksgiving, right? Or around that time.
Yeah, it was the day after Thanksgiving.
The day after.
Yeah.
So you just have to go and be around other people, or go back to your job and just go live your life.
Yeah.
After you've experienced something that no one will ever understand what you just went through.
Yeah.
It's so crazy to me.
It really was.
That's life, I guess.
That's life. You live and you learn,
Yeah. And what did you learn?
That I will be taking a long break from Mexican food.
Yeah,
that's what I learned.
That's
the story. Okay, so we've realized this is getting a little lengthy. And we have a lot more to cover.
We have a lot to talk about on this subject.
We do. So we're gonna close this out for now. We'll be back with part 2.
Because we don't want to shortchange any of these stories.
No.
So we figured let's do a whole nother episode so that we have time to talk about the good stuff.
Yes.
So come back for part 2.